This is a Culture Inject production.
Welcome back to Part of Us. Before we dig into today's episode, follow us on all the platforms: YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook at En Vogue Craze, and on Twitter at Part of Us Fancast. If you have comments or questions, then let's hear it. Email them to us at partofusevf@gmail.com. And please, as a reminder, review and rate our podcast. It really does matter in making sure that we get to as many ears as possible.
All right, so let's catch up with some trending news. So En Vogue has excited the fashion world once again, but this time from 25-year-old outtakes. Only the Funky Divas, Fashion Bible, and Temple of the Avant-Garde. ID magazine featured unreleased images from the EV3 cover shoot in an article titled "The Story Behind En Vogue's Legendary 90s Album Artwork." Photography power couple Constance Hansen and Russell Peacock, professionally known as Guzman, shared never-before-seen snaps that are arguably more captivating than those released to the public. What did you think about those outtakes? Which are your favorites? Should these gems have been published during the EV3 era?
Oh my God. Like, y'all know I stand hard for this album cover, period. And I love like behind the scenes anything. And so this was like, I don't know, this was like a Christmas gift I didn't expect. It was like, I was like, where the hell did this come from? And because I never thought anybody like honestly cared enough about it to write, like to leak the things, but to write a piece about it. I just was like, oh, this is dope. So I live like over and over and over. I've like saved them to my phone. I made sure that I have them in case ID takes them down. I'm like, I need these in my archive. That being said, I think they're all gorgeous. I feel like the archives, honey, the archives. I think they're all gorgeous. I really love the shoots that kind of has them. I don't know. It kind of feels like circusy. Do you know what I'm talking about? Like, there's this. I think like Cindy's in the middle.
I know what you're talking about.
It's kind of got. I'm curious because we didn't see too many photos from that. But I thought it was intriguing the way that they were dressed, and I was like, oh, this could have been really dope. So, but y'all know I live for the shoot that landed on the actual album cover. So like all those other poses just were like, oh, chef's kiss. I live.
I loved it. I thought that, like Josh said, it was Christmas come early. When I saw them come up on the internet, I was just so happy because when we talked about the unreleased music, I was like, I'm not too keen on the unreleased music, but I do just like love when I see like a performance I've never seen or when there's unreleased, things from photo shoots or videos. And this is like exactly what I wanted. I just love the photos. I love, of course, like some of the looks we've seen, but they were alternate versions. But then like the two, like the one that Josh mentioned, that circusy where like magazine and Cindy can look like circus performers, and Terry, I don't know what Terry has on because she is dressed very conservatively. It's like a long flowing black
it's looking
jacket,
like a little
maybe,
witchy,
but Cindy and maybe a little Stevie Nicks. But Cindy and Magazine have they have on like. I don't want to. They're not corsets. I forget what you call those. They're not really leotards either. I don't know the actual name for
bustiers,
what have you. They look great.
Oh, those and corsets.
Maybe that's what maybe they're corsets, which is just so. I love it, and they're in front of white. So I'm thinking, were those test shots? Because some of the photos look like test shots, and others they look like they were actually. There was an intent to use them, and they just weren't used. And when we talked about the album cover, I think when we discussed EV3, I kind of, I think I prematurely misjudged Guzman because it's not always the photos that you take, it's what the people pick and choose to use. Because some of them, like Terry, I think there's one where she's in the outfit that she has on the album cover. Like it's obviously from the album cover, one of the photos that could have been in EV3, the booklet. And the way she's sitting on the couch is just so high fashion. And so, but they didn't pick that one.
Yes.
So, but my favorites, of course, the ones the looks that I didn't see, the circusy one, and the one where it's kind of like tribal, where they have on the different prints, and Maxine has this cool kind of afro, and Cindy and Terry have these braids. They have like this big beaded jewelry. Like, I've never seen those before, so those are automatically going to be my favorites. And it's not only that I hadn't seen them, but they just look so beautiful, and it's just so peak and vogue. I love it.
Yeah, I love that one with the kind of African motif. They look amazing. I've never seen that one. Are there more pictures of with that look, or is that the only one? I think
there are two like that, because there's one where it looks like, it potentially could have been in a magazine, and then there's another one that's a little bit smaller where I think they're actually sitting on the couch. But, just think they have photographers, they do all these looks. They do so many shots of a look. I think, Latoya Jackson talked about it one time. She was like, I hate doing photo shoots because they make you take all of these photos. They make you change your hair and change your clothes and do all these looks. And then you only use one. And so, there's probably, more photo shoots, in looks and all kind of things that we haven't seen. That's what I'm hoping for. And I hope, slowly but surely with, the internet and social media and everything, and with all of these creatives that are probably now, either retiring or, looking to just reminisce on their work, that stuff like this starts to come out more. And I'm also happy that it wasn't just like a Instagram dump. It was actually in an article for a fashion magazine that, if you remember House of Style back in the day and the Fashion Channel back in the day, ID magazine was it. It wasn't Vogue that's just for everybody. It was it was for people in fashion. So it's a high mark of esteem that 25 years later, they're being featured in it. And I don't even think in Vogue, they had nothing to do with the article. They didn't retweet it. They didn't say anything about it. They didn't retweet any of the pictures. It's just they were just so ahead of their time that, ID said, you know what? Yeah, we could do an article on this.
I don't understand why they didn't share this, that seems like a missed opportunity. I mean, I get that it's tricky sometimes to repost things with former members, and when you're operating as a different composition of the group, but from a legacy perspective, this is a great piece that was written, and it deserves to be I think shared by them too,
I agree.
Oh yeah,
I'm just on a high. I'm so happy that, if nothing else comes out this year, I will keep looking at those pictures probably at least once a week and just sighing. My eyes are going to be like a Cheshire cat, just grinning, looking at those beautiful pictures.
And we can wish for the next shoot to leak.
I would love for them to take more chances with their fashion, in their current state. I know they've done some nice looks in recent, years, but I don't think anything has been very avant-garde. I think even some of the nicer choices have been a little bit safe, especially in comparison to this type of shoot. When you look at Rocket, for example, they looked wonderful. The dresses were gorgeous, but it still was kind of more on the safe side compared to this type of shoot. I would love to just see them kind of go to get with a photographer and creative director that just kind of pushes them somewhere outside of just being safe and glamorous.
Yeah,
JP, I'm feeling you on this episode.
I would have loved to see that too, because I think Michael Mann, rest in peace, was pushing them in a direction that I think was even kind of not safe for them then, but I imagine it's like any other relationship, right? You build trust, and I feel eventually if they were still working with him, I just wonder where he would have pushed them, because I think he was gonna push them. I've seen some of his other stuff that he's done for other artists, and at the time, and it just there was a lot of potential there.
I agree. I'm happy you said that. And R.P. Michael Mann, I still can't believe it. It just looked like he had everything going for himself, and I love this direction. But you bring up a good point, because what was interesting when I saw Guzman posting the images on social media, they didn't know who the stylists were. And I think the styling is such a huge part of it, probably why I like it, because like I said, some of them are just test shots. And of course, the ladies look beautiful. Magazine's figure is on 10. Cindy's figure is on 10. They just Terry, of course, is on 10, just in that kind of like the long black thing. It's just interesting that the other two are like showing body, and she's fully covered, which is cool because I like the contrast. But I feel that to say, like, it's so much, like everyone has to play a role on a creative team. And a lot of photographers these days, it's just different because now everything is so accessible and digital. But back in the day when you had to actually, shoot and use film and you had to develop the film, like I just feel like there was an actual art to it. So they definitely, with a great stylist like Michael Mann, if only they were like better photographers, not just content creators, but actually photographers that know, I can just imagine what they could do now.
Well, folks, let's jump into our discussion for this episode. So, speaking of the EV3 era, today's episode is actually dedicated to the enigmatic lead single Whatever, written and produced by Babyface and Giuliano Franco. This spacey mid-tempo groove found the Funky Divas in uncharted territory. So, for the first time, the ladies crafted an album not entirely under the auspices of longtime producers Denzil, Foster, and Thomas McElroy.
The fact that I really needed to go and Google the word enigmatic. I was like, wait a minute, this is an SAT word. It's been a minute. Hold on, let me see. Okay. For those listening who were confused as enigmatic means difficult to interpret or understand. Mysterious. Okay, so things changed with Denzil and Tommy. Cindy revealed in the Jeffrey Himes Washington Post article titled En Vogue 3 for the Road, published October 31st, 1997. And she says, we owe a lot to them because they were the ones who put this group together. With the first album, we were in the infant stage and needed their guidance. But with the second album, we grew up a little. And like good parents, they knew that when we grew up, it was time to let us go. There was some heartache on both sides, but we got past it and we're still working together. In fact, they wrote and produced our next single, Let It Flow.
Discussing working with Babyface, Cindy explained, the head of our label, Sylvia Rohn, brought Babyface into the project. We went to the studio to meet him for the first time, and Sylvia told us if we liked the song Babyface had written for us, we would stay there and record it. We were a little bit nervous because Babyface is Babyface, and he's worked with a lot of great vocalists, but he was cool. For someone with such a big name, he wasn't intimidating at all. When I first heard the song, I wasn't sure I liked it. Then I heard how Babyface had worked that bell tone thing that became our signature on Never Gonna Get It into this new song, and that made me like it. So let's get into it. What do you think of Whatever solely as a song, only as a song, not as, lead single, not as a video, but this is a song.
A comeback
not
record.
As a comeback record, none of that. Do you think it was worthy? Oh, well, then I asked, do you think it was worthy of being picked as a lead single? But first, what do you think of Whatever just as a song? No judgment, you just heard it. What do you think?
I love this song. To me, this song still sounds fresh. It is a groove. It is a bop. That is probably the En Vogue song I listen to the most often to this day. It's so funky. It's weird to me that Babyface produced it because he's known for the more ballads, the more kind of laid back, records. And even now when I listen to it, I'm finding little things that I like about it to this day. It's a great song to me.
Yeah, same here. It's I think it's also my most frequently listened to, just because I think it's in the evolution of En Vogue, I think it really shows them in a place that was grown and sexy and kind of laid back.
Yeah.
And riding grooves versus needing to it wasn't this huge dance song or something. I thought it was kind of cool.
Right.
It was very chill, but still had a punch to it. And then I think it kind of, even separate of the visuals, before the visuals come, I kind of think it's got a creepiness to it. It's got a weirdness to it, that obviously lends itself well when you add in the visuals and you add in the music video, etc. But in and of itself as a song, I think it's interesting, and it didn't really sound like a lot of other songs that were coming out at the time, which I think is kind of dope. So it also just like, it's like you said, it's still fresh. I feel like I can still like,
it could come out today.
Yeah, like if I heard that in a club or something, like I would really, really be into it, and I'd be like, "Well, what is this?" If I didn't know. So I think it's kind of it stands the test of time, unlike some other songs that I think we talked about on that album.
Do you think it was worthy of being the lead single?
Yeah, absolutely. Lead single. I mean, compared to yeah, I think so. I think that was their best shot at a hit was with Whatever, in my opinion, on that album.
I always thought that the first single should have been You're All I Need, and my justification is that, and this is, I mean, well, it kind of ties into Dawn, because like it almost begs the question, and we know it's not, but for some people they could have been like, is this about Dawn? You're all I need. I haven't seen you lately, but you keep me wondering where you are. It was just very simple. I think it would have played well on pop radio, would have played well on R&B radio. It's a little bit untypical. There's only one person on lead. In the background, they're very kind of churchy. So, you know, you could have had Cindy up front, you know, and then Max and Cherry killing it in the background. And I think it just was maybe a little bit more palatable mainstream. So that's the one I would have picked. So I would, as much as I love Whatever, I would not have picked it as the lead single.
In terms of the lead single, whatever, lead single. I mean, I could say I would not have picked You're All I Need. That much I can say for certain. So I think one of the writers of Don't Let Go, what's his name?
Ivan Mateus.
Yes. So ever since he said that, you know, initially, Damn, I Want to Be Your Lover was supposed to be the lead single, and Dawn left and Cindy didn't want to sing it. Ever since then, I could just, in my mind, I can just like, I want to know what that would have been like as the lead single. So, and that is really one of my favorite songs from EV3. So there's a part of me that just kind of feels like, I wonder how that would have worked as a lead single, but all things considered, listening to the body of work as a whole, I still have to give it to Whatever is the lead single, because it is just so funky. It is just so, like, it still sounds good. Like, that song came out in 97?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, like, the production, there's nothing on the production I would change. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think it could come out today if a new girl group sang it today. I think it could still work. So I guess I'll say, yeah, I would go with Whatever as the lead single. But
I just want to touch on you talking about Damn, I Want to Be Your Lover, because I remember this interview with, there's a lot of people that now that I'm talking about, I'm realizing they're not here with us anymore, but Andrea Martin.
Mm-hmm.
She, I don't remember if I read it or I saw her saying it, but she talked about, you know, after the success of Don't Let Go, she was picked to, you know, of course, write additional songs, and she was like, I asked the girls, you know, what they wanted, you know, and they were like, they want another song like Don't Let Go. But she, because you know, Andrea Martin is very animated, or she was RIP. And so I always wondered, was that song Damn, I Want to Be Your Lover? But the way she said it, though, was kind of like shady. Like, she was like, they want another song like Don't Let Go.
Yeah, like, I mean, Ivan Mateus said this was recently, like, this was maybe, I can't remember if it was the beginning of COVID or pre-COVID, but he was saying, like, yeah, that was, Dawn was supposed to sing, Dawn sang lead on it. It was supposed to be the first single, and then when she left, they kind of shifted focus, and that's how Whatever, he says that's how Whatever ended up being the lead single. We would love to have you on to discuss further.
Yes, please come, Ivan Mateus.
We would love it. But yeah, I mean, that is honestly my favorite song on EV3, and I love that record. I would have loved to have heard Dawn on it, even though Terry does a great job. I would have just loved to have kind of seen how that would have worked, especially following up Don't Let Go. But all things considered, I don't think it would have worked without Dawn being on it, especially following Don't Let Go. You know what I'm saying? If they were trying to recreate that moment, you know what I'm saying? But also sometimes recreating those moments don't work out.
True, that is true.
So, you know.
I think that's what Andre was trying to say. Like, you want another song like he already had done. Like, you want a song that sounds like that?
But I wonder how it would have been like with maybe the same pattern of if Dawn sang the leads and then Terry coming in and, you know, maybe doing the bridge and Max on some ad-libs. I don't know. Who knows? But at any rate, whatever peaked in the top 20 stateside and across the pond. The Recording Industry Association of America certified the single gold for shipments of over 500,000 in the United States. However, whatever is rarely referenced by non-diehard fans when reflecting on En Vogue's discography, and the ladies seldom dust off the jam in concert. In defense of En Vogue's whatever, ethnomusicologist Mark Chappelle ponders, was it Dawn's ninth hour abandonment? Was it too pop for BET? Too black for MTV? Did East West lose faith in EV3 and withdraw full support? We suspect it may have been the video.
So speaking of the video, Whatever's music video premiered in May of 1997, preceding the physical single's June 2nd street date. Lensed by the cinematic extraordinaire Matthew Ralston, the clip drew comparisons to Marilyn Manson and Michael Jackson's Thriller due to its leading ladies traipsing around a seemingly haunted beauty salon in the haute couture and ghastly makeup. Frank Gatson and Lorianne Gibson, the boom cat queen herself, choreographed the esoteric masterpiece. Although it was nominated for Most Stylish Video at the 1997 VH1 Vogue Fashion Awards. Oh my God. Do you remember those? Oh my God. I forgot about that award show.
Yes, I do.
It was ignored by the MTV Video Music Awards and the Grammy Awards.
A crime.
I know. I thought, because I remember watching the VH1 Vogue Fashion Awards that year, and VH1 will play it over and over and over and over and over, which was great for me because I didn't have a VCR. So I was able to see like an En Vogue live performance over and over. They did Too Gone Too Long. For those who don't remember, they had on the purple. From my understanding, that award show, each act that performed was assigned to a designer, and En Vogue's designer was, I believe, Donna Karen, and they did Too Gone Too Long, and I just could not believe that like a video, like whatever, even though I didn't like it, it was just so much fashion in it. And my mom is like a fashion person, so she watched the Style Channel, she watched House of Style, so you know I would see the runway shows and watch all of that with her. So they lost to Bryan Adams, if I remember correctly. I just couldn't believe it. And then like such a video that just generated so much controversy. Like they didn't get nominated. Like they weren't at the MTV Video Music Awards, which were huge at that time. But
I think a lot of that stuff just has to do with how much the label was pushing them, you know, and it really just felt like I don't think they were getting the same level of support they were getting, previously.
Well, complicating matters, photographer Sean Ellis, no relation to Terry the Voice Ellis, actually sued Matthew Ralston for plagiarism due to the similarities between Whatever's video and his shoot called Clinic, which appeared in the Face magazine's March 1997 issue, which was styled by the legendary Isabella Blow, friend to the late Alexander McQueen. Ralston conceded to borrowing too heavily from Sean Ellis, and according to Paul McCann's July 17th, 1987 article in The Independent, he agreed to pay the equivalent of a day's worth of work for a high-end photographer upon being threatened with legal action. And I guess back then that was about $20,000.
Wow.
Which isn't actually, for a lawsuit, that's not too bad in my opinion. But then, of course, what do I know? If we want to talk about that, let's talk about that. Plagiarism. We're creatives. What do we think about plagiarism? We saw the pictures. Was it plagiarism?
It was, yeah.
Clearly, yeah. I mean, clearly that was the inspiration and all of that. But to me, once you put like a picture out there, if someone takes your picture and interprets it in real time, you know what I'm saying? Like, it just seems like, what is the legal standing of that? Like, if someone steals your song that you have copywritten and you've got your, all of your publishing and all of that, but I'm not, at least I'm not aware of photography being the same thing. Like when you take a picture and you publish it, or it's in a magazine or something, is it copywritten in the same way that like a song is?
I think so. I think you can copyright photographs. I think the only thing that I know that you can copyright is like fashion, except in France. In France, you can copyright art. Maybe that's not the word copyright, but you can, fashion can be considered to be plagiarized in France. Everywhere else, like if there's a jacket, I can make another jacket in the United States that looks exactly the same, and I can't be sued. But photography can be copywritten according to the article.
Yeah, that's interesting to me because I mean, it happens all the time. Influence happens all the time, but if you look at the photos, it's not like, oh, this one photo happened to make it into the video. It's like, oh no, this is the entire kind of vibe. Like it's pretty copy paste. Now it's a good copy paste. Like like it'd be different if Matthew Ralston like borrowed it and then did it poorly, but like they feel very complimentary of one another. They feel really like in sync, so it kind of feels intentional to some degree. If I was to see the shoot for from the face and then also look at the video, I'd be like, oh, the same people who did the face piece probably just did the video. So I think it's like kind of a compliment in a weird way, but like also, you know, you can't just go be stealing you can't steal people's stuff and then not pay them something, because the right thing to do would be to give credit and say somewhere like this was inspired by, but that clearly didn't happen because maybe that would have intercepted all of the legal conflict. But people want their coins. I could be mad.
Yeah, I remember it. And I don't want to say people are being litigious because I know their work and it's very personal, but the most bizarre thing that I had ever heard, and I was just like, this has to be a joke, was the Scream video. I guess there's like a piece of art that's shown in the video, like it's just shown, and the artist, I guess, who made the painting actually sued because his painting was shown in the video.
Oh wow!
And I was like, okay, people were just getting out of control. Because like that's ridiculous to me. He did get a settlement though, but he definitely borrowed heavily from Mr. Ellis. What I will give Matthew, Mr. Ralston, credit for is that there are parts of the video that, and I don't know if they came from somewhere else, but they're not in that particular shoot, like the ladies dancing in the corsets and the Terry with the what is it, the Max Factor kind of face cage, and Cindy pulling that giant head down the hallway. I don't know if those came from somewhere else, but it's like a lot of it is, but like half isn't. So yeah. But regardless of the controversy, the forward-thinking masterstroke is a favorite of fans and fashionistas alike. How did you feel about the video when you first saw it? Have your thoughts changed? And knowing that it potentially knowing that it potentially alienated a portion of En Vogue's fan base, would you change the video in any way if you could?
Yes, I would. What I would change is, I just think, and I think I said this before, but only thing I would have changed is I would have had a section of the video where they're just giving you their full regular glam. You know what I mean? Maybe a little dance break, maybe just a little moment where they could have looked like what we expect to see of En Vogue, to kind of you know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Just to kind of give some familiarity, as you know, because they look very different. They look very, unrecognizable in a lot of the video.
Right. And they're coming out as three for the first time, so to be unrecognizable with that big of a change.
Right. So maybe just if they could have done a little, you got Lorianne Boomcat Gibson, you could have given us a little, a little breakdown, a little choreographed 1-2 step with them giving you full glam, giving you something that we can feel in a recognizable way. That's the only thing I would change about it, honestly. I think the video, the concept of the video is based on the lyrics, which is whatever you want, I'm willing to do. And So if that means I have to change myself, if I have to, go to this crazy beauty shop and, contort myself and do whatever, that's what I'm going to do. So I think I think the video is brilliant, honestly. Mm-hmm. Even if it's based on that, that other photographer's work. But I think they needed just a little bit of something that's like, okay, this is us. We're still, it's still En Vogue, I think they needed that type of moment somewhere up in there,
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think I don't know. I'm torn. I love it so much. I loved it then. I love it now. I don't want to change a thing about it. I would not change a thing about it, except for I don't really love Max and that top hat thing. That just never really thrilled me. But, I think she got the shittiest deal out of the individual shots because, like, I thought Cindy's and Terry's sort of like moments were really striking, and then Max in like the mirror disappearing was just like, what is going on? But I do wish that I do wish that would have been a great moment for like us to get more natural hair, Max. But the one thing I will say is that, and maybe this was more practice back in the day then than it is now, but I would have loved for them to have taken the opportunity to service 2 videos to 2 different audiences.
Yes.
So like this video could have absolutely stayed the same and been the MTV video, but I really needed, because it was so alienating for people, especially more traditional R&B kind of audiences, that, because I don't even want to say black folks, because people have said people say that sometimes. People are like, black folks didn't like this video. I mean, I don't think that, but like, I think that like the folks that were really used to a particular version of En Vogue, it was very alienating, and so I feel like that's that warrants another video. So I think that they could have done something completely different.
That would have been so cutting edge. That would have been like a Beyonce-esque type of move. Yeah. And I'm here for it.
Like giving us gowns and slinky things and sexy, but like not crazy over the top. Yeah.
Yeah. That would have been fabulous. But what I think is just so interesting is that, the music industry for so long only operated in a certain way. Mm-hmm. So I think in 1997, the idea of 2 separate videos, I think Sylvia Rhone and them up there in them offices would have been like, excuse me?
I mean, they did 2 videos for Don't Let Go, but that was probably because it was because maybe they didn't like the first one. It was never done that you made 2 videos, I guess, because you like on purpose. It was usually because you didn't like the first one. But gosh, like when you have such drastically different audiences, like it makes sense sometimes.
Do you think? I think 2 videos is fierce. It's giving me, Beyonce changing the game type of, I'm going to shake the industry up type of thing.
Did anybody ever do that?
No.
Because so that's why I love the way you think, Josh, just because when I was thinking of it, I was thinking like if they did because I love the video, so don't change anything, but I was thinking like a remix. So I know Mary J. Blige, she would do,
a remix video.
Yeah, a video for the remix. They had so many remixes, so if they had like one where they're just out there, then another one where they're like, just, like with the ODB version that has the sequence sample, I'm going to funk you right on up. And they're just, looking like hot babes looked in 97, like, the obvious stereotypical hot babes, but it would be a nice contrast.
Yeah. Yeah. That would have been cute because, I'm embarrassed being an En Vogue, connoisseur for so long. I had never heard the ODB version of the remix.
I'm freaky or a pervert, but baby, I'm a single man and I flirt. I never just or put them down. When a man has a woman, he can never leave town. She's all on my back, cold clock on my coat. They start home, get off my home.
Like, I'm embarrassed about it. And I was playing the remix. a few weeks ago, and I was like, oh, this is dope. Like, a remix video would have been so, I think that could have taken En Vogue and the whole project to a whole other kind of place. You know what I'm saying?
I think, like, honestly, like, whatever is one of those songs where it in whatever form it's taken, be it remix or whatever, like, it's always just, it's consistently good. So, like, the remix with ODB is good on its own merit. It doesn't necessarily, like, it could have been, like, it doesn't, you know, sometimes remixes feel reductive, like just sort of copy paste versions of the same original song. But even, like, there's these beautiful house mixes of whatever that I think are so good. And so, like, I don't know, I just think that, like, this was the single that had the opportunity to sort of be adaptable to fit the various audiences. And if people are already doing these things with the songs, and we know we got to give a different version of this song to this different area of radio, then why would we not do the same thing with visuals? I just don't understand why they never explored that as an industry.
That's a good question.
Yeah, I think because labels are just thinking about the bottom line, the dollar.
That's real, because it costs money to shoot a video.
Yeah, especially back then. Now you could just pull out your iPhone and shoot a video anywhere. But back then, a video was like a huge line item on the budget. And they weren't trying to do all of that. But
do you remember, and I know you do, JP, Janet, There's Together Again, of course, the one that everybody knows, the doom. But then there's the deeper remix.
The deeper remix.
Which is not even really a remix, because it's a totally different vocal and everything. So it's a different version of the song, I would say, but it's called the deeper remix.
Yep.
Do you remember, Josh?
And there was a whole other video for it, and they played that on BET, and MTV got the doom. Yes. But, I mean, Janet Jackson was Virgin's moneymaker.
Right,
she was their star, so they were invested in her. So they were going to make it work. They had, because Got to This Gone was the first single. It was not what people expected. It didn't do what That's the Way Love Goes did. But Together Again, they knew was going to be, you know, the huge single. And so it went number one, of course, on the pop charts, but they needed to service the Black audience. So they created, you know, they had the deeper remix, and they made sure BET got that R&B groove, and they got the video for it, you know?
Hey, that's the only, but I know I feel like Mariah or somebody, but that's the only example that I can think of where there's like two videos, one for a remix and one for like the actual, because like, well, maybe Mariah. I feel like Heartbreaker, like maybe that happened. It started happening after, because Heartbreaker, I think there was like Heartbreaker, the one in the theater, you know, the fun poppy one where she has on like the pink, well, it's not a tube top, but pink halter top or whatever. And there's O'Connell, I forget, Jerry O'Connell on the video. But then there's the DJ Clue remix, and she's looking, ooh, Mariah, you know, she had on those hot pants and like that tiny bra, and I think Misty's on the remix, and maybe the Brat, because you know her and the Brat, you know. But like, yes, it's now it's starting to come to me. But I guess that started happening after. But like you said, those were like the huge money makers of their labels, so it was nothing to do that for them. Maybe.
Yeah. Even to this day, I mean, I think there aren't a lot of artists that can get their label to kind of double dip on one song in that way, you know? So let's talk about the live performances of whatever. Perhaps the greatest legacy of whatever is the litany of its television performances. Every performance offered energy and soaring vocals. The ladies graced MTV Jams, Planet Groove, the MTV Movie Awards, which is my favorite performance. Jay Leno, David Letterman, Regis and Kathy Lee, Rosie O'Donnell, and Saturday Night Live. The dress rehearsal with renditions of the underrated tune. And shout out to, you know, the 90s when, you know, artists really went on promotional runs and they would just perform their single everywhere. Anywhere there was a camera set up, there would be a performance. International footage from Top of the Pops and French television have also surfaced, and it's been mentioned that it was also performed on Good Morning Britain, and we're still waiting for that footage to leak. What's your favorite televised performance of whatever?
Oh, I think it's also the MTV Movie Awards. Like,
it was everything.
It was the fashion. It was the choreography. They had such good energy. They sounded good. I just think that they were like top tier, and the audience wasn't giving it to them like I thought they should have gave it to them. But overall, like, it's a stellar performance. And I think we talked about my second place. I can't remember which one it is because I'd be forgetting and confusing these with these late night shows. But one of them was the performance that they had more choreography than most of the other performances. Which one was that?
I think that was Letterman. Maxine has on the short skirt.
Yes, and Max is going in. Like, Max is having a good time. Is this the one where Max's hair is kind of like all over the place a little bit? Like, I think that's reddish. The one. Yeah, like, I think Max was really enjoying herself. I remember watching that pretty recently and kind of like giggling at how much fun it looked like they were having. And then the choreography was never to be seen again. But those are my favorites.
I love all of these. I think just trying to remember which ones I actually saw live when they aired, it would have to be the MTV Movie Awards, because as I probably have kind of hinted at, like cable, I just miss those days to be young and just, like during the summer or whenever, like during the weekend, if I didn't have anything to do and like I could just watch an award show over and over and over and over. I didn't need a VCR. Like, if MTV did something, they were going to play it for like months. And so if I wanted to see that performance and I didn't have YouTube, there was no YouTube back then, I'd be like, oh, the MTV Awards are on. Okay, this has to happen, and then En Vogue is going to perform. And so that probably just because of, like, I know that I saw it, like, as it was happening, that just has a lot of nostalgia for me. I don't think I saw Jay Leno, David Letterman when they aired. I didn't see Weeks and Kathy. Like, either I was asleep or at school. Rosie, I might have seen. Planet Groove, I definitely saw. And what I will get to the Planet Groove episode is that I loved the arrangement, and really all of the arrangements on that particular episode of Planet Groove, of all the songs, like they were different. So Free Your Mind was different. But just since we're talking about whatever, they did, I don't know what instrument that is or if it was a sample, but there that na 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 na, like the way it came in, I just really, really love that. And of course, they sounded great. Like every performance, I don't think there's any bad performances during that time of whatever. Like, their vocals were always pristine. They sang it. They did all the notes. Cindy all the way up there, Terry belting, Maxine holding the lows. But I will say, just because I love to see what I haven't seen, I'm a Scorpio, so we love the unseen. Just I do want to see that footage from whatever Britain morning show they did. And then the Saturday Night Live one just bothers me because I know that they didn't do it on the show, but there's a full dress rehearsal and you see that they have dancers and there's like this couch with like a leopard print, like kind of covering, and like the costumes are just out of this world. So I just hate, it just bugs my soul that for whatever reason they didn't do it during the show. But
I need answers about that. I need to understand.
We could do a whole episode on that. Like, it's just like, what happened to that performance? Like, they're in full dress, like the hair, like, have like this kind of like, I almost want to say like Japanese anime type of hair. So like they put a lot into it, and just to not perform it on the show is so odd to me. And I'm dying to see the dress rehearsal footage, because sometimes, it leaks. Like, I've seen Mariah's, I've seen Whitney's. So hopefully at some point, like, if that leaks, you guys, I probably am going to have to take a year off just because my brain is going to explode.
Yeah, my favorite, of course, is the MTV Movie Awards. I recorded it. I saw that in person in real time. I recorded it on my VCR. When Puffy was like En Vogue, I was pressing record. I used to come home from school and watch it every day and learn the choreography. Like, I was into it. Like, that performance was everything to me. Like, I didn't, and it was so weird because I was like, this shit is weird. Like, I don't know what they have on. I don't understand that. I don't understand the hair. I don't understand any of this. And at this point, I think I was in middle school or something. But I was like, I don't know what it is, but I'm into it. I love it. I honestly used to watch that multiple times a day.
Also, shout out to the little hip shimmy, whatever that little thing they be doing. That's my
that whatever part when she's like, when Terry does the when she gets to the high part of the whatever.
And I think Frank kind of appropriated that with Crazy in Love for Beyonce, but that's another discussion.
Here's a fun fact, though. En Vogue actually performed at Chicago radio station B96's Halloween Bash on October 30th, 1997, sharing a stage with Hanson, the Backstreet Boys, Robin, Aaliyah, and the legendary icon. You better call her the legendary icon. I Know Jay.
Wait, who the hell is I Know
Queen
Jay?
of the covers. She did Ring My Bell. She did Time After Time. She did Love You Down.
Oh, that's the chick from Atlanta?
No, she's not from Atlanta. I think she was from the Midwest. But
okay.
Yeah, she had a good little 3-hit run.
No, yeah, she was signed to So Def. Mm-hmm. So I just assumed she was from Atlanta.
But that's like a pretty sort of that is a lineup for sure. But do you think that En Vogue should have or should play Up Whatever as a Halloween song? I do. I have a playlist, y'all. I have a playlist. I've been making playlists on the low. It's a little bit of an obsession, and it's called instead of All Hallows Eve, it's called All Hallows Weave. And it's got all of my like favorite songs that kind of sound like they should be Halloween songs, but aren't Halloween songs. And whatever.
That is so cool.
Whatever is definitely.
It's called who?
All Hallows Weave.
All Hallows Weave.
It's got like songs like Sunshine in the Rain by Joy, or Makeup by Vanity 6, or what else, like Heads Will Roll by the Yeah Yeah Yeahs, like just random, like Wait Your Turn by Rihanna, just like deep, like sort of like the those kind of deeper, darker kinds of songs. And I have Whatever, I think it's the last song, it's like the closer or something, but I think it does play well as a Halloween song.
I mean, I don't have a Halloween playlist, so I when I think about Halloween, I don't think about any song except Thriller. So, but I mean, if it's gonna get you a coin, then why not?
They should do like I think like if like MTV were to play music videos again, first and foremost, but if like any of the places that do play music videos, like if they were to do like a Halloween playlist of videos, I think the video works really well as a Halloween song, but maybe not the song by itself, but for me in my household, it's a Halloween song.
Well, now like everything, like Halloween, and maybe I don't know, maybe I was oblivious, but like I told you all when I came up how old I am, all of that stuff. But like now, Halloween to me, it seems like of course I'm not saying people didn't celebrate Halloween, but now it's like such a huge thing, maybe because of social media. It's just like, people start dressing up, days before, and we see all these celebrities doing photo shoots just for Halloween. And, of course, radio stations always played Halloween music. So, in LA, it's like, of course, it's Michael Jackson's Thriller. It's, Oingo Boingo, It's the Dead Man's Party. Who could ask for more? Those are the two. There's others, of course, but I would like to see that, though. I mean, like, dust it off a little bit. Well, maybe not now. I just wish it then, just because it got so much backlash, it would have been nice instead of kind of trying to reel it back and just saying, well, like,
embrace it.
In the previous episode, like, the EV3 episode, there's that clip of Terry talking about, like, kind of explaining away what happened. Like, well, yeah, whatever. Maybe, the director, like, there's some stuff we have to veto. Like, just to kind of embrace it.
Hey, I'm Terry Ellis. That wasn't me. You're back with more Planet Groove. That was whatever. I know. I know. We never really got a chance to talk about that video. I know it was whatever, huh? Well, whatever. What happened was, when we decided to do that video, we sat down with the video director, and, he had these wild ideas, and, you thought that was bad. Some of those ideas we vetoed because they were really bad. But that's what happens when you take too long to get back to work. But, hey, somebody liked it. I started seeing that stuff showing up in other videos, some of those weird moves and stuff. Somebody liked it. At any rate, that's what it was, whatever. Hey, it was whatever. It was the artistic moment we had.
You're like, oh, you think this is spooky? Well, when we do that performance, we're going to do X, Y, and Z. But really, the most interesting thing I thought of, when I came across that article was that En Vogue performed with Hanson, the Backstreet Boys, Robin, Aaliyah, and of course NOJ. But really, it's just interesting to me, like, where did En Vogue see themselves at that point in their career? Because, like, these people are more so in the teen spectrum. Like, they, in a sense, kind of stand out because they're like this R&B act, R&B act, and they're performing with
they have like basically a decade on these artists.
Right. And when I think the article's behind the paywall now, but like, from what, if I remember correctly, of course, like, all of the little teens that were there, they were going, I think they were even going crazier for Hanson than they were for the Backstreet Boys, but like, those were the two big draws. And En Vogue, it was something like they came in with like this huge performance, a Free Your Mind, but something was wrong with the sound, but they sounded great. But it's like, where did they think they fit? Like, they just didn't fit there. And of course, like, a check is a check, but like, where were they positioning themselves? It's just interesting to me that they were there. I wish there were pictures or something from, to see them with Hanson and the Backstreet Boys. Definitely with Aaliyah. But it's just like, where?
I think that speaks. I think since we kind of went in on this in the EV3 episode, but like, I think the label really, this feels like a label move. I feel like the label was really trying to position that album and its sort of everything as being really, really, really like pop centered, and this sort of tells me that, because I just don't know why they would, like, this is not a lineup that I would ever imagine En Vogue being on, but it made sense, I think, with what was the most popular at the time. And so they were going to try their damnedest to put them into that kind of company, because maybe a little bit of the Hanson stuff would rub off on the En Vogue. And, like, it just feels like that's what the goal was, but like, it didn't play out like that. But
Hanson and Backstreet Boys, they were giving like fun pop, like, upbeat pop. Like,
speaking of Halloween songs, didn't they have a Halloween song, Backstreet Boys? Everybody.
Oh yeah, that's another Halloween song.
Yes.
How can I forget?
But EP3 was not giving that. But I mean, I think being in that roster, I think I'm glad that the label was not trying to make them a nostalgia act. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, I'm glad they were with relevant artists at that time.
Yeah.
But, their music certainly didn't sound anything like what Backstreet or, Robin or Aaliyah, were giving at that time.
Yeah.
That's just like one of those 90s type of things that just will never happen today. Like, people stay in their lanes more so now. There's bigger festivals, but like for a single concert, Well,
I don't know. Some of those iHeartRadio festivals. Because I just heard a festival that had like
Pat Benatar,
Lionel Richie. They had Lionel Richie on the same lineup as like Nicki Minaj or some like very. I'm just like, why is Lionel Richie there? But it's happening, I think, in Vegas or something, and it's like it's very random. But I think someone like iHeartRadio, they own radio stations that are pop, country, urban AC, or it's they cover the whole gambit. So they have to. I guess they're trying to at least cover the whole spectrum, but. En Vogue does kind of stick out a bit amongst this lineup in particular.
Well, just getting into the legacy of whatever En Vogue, their styling, the aesthetic, and the movement in whatever short film predates works by Khalees, Rihanna, particularly Disturbia, and other so-called urban artist forays into high fashion and high concept. Cindy, Harry, and Maxine, they were bold, they were fearless, and they were on a voyage to sail, as Cindy would describe, beyond the obvious, a journey beyond the obvious. And that track, it occupies a space unlike any other, somewhere deep in the abyss of soul where funk and trance meet. Is it ahead of its time? Maybe for most, but not for those light years ahead.
So, Matan, you're not on Twitter, right?
No. I mean, I have like a burner account so I could see stuff, but I'm not like, I don't tweet anything.
I know Josh is on Twitter, so like when the Tisha Campbell stuff goes viral from her song "I'm Still Here," and she'd be like, "It's the journey."
It's the journey.
No,
y'all know what I try to do sometimes is like. Speaking of that, like I will, because I love Twitter so much, and it's so interesting what gets retweets and what suddenly gets thousands of likes and all this other kind of stuff, like especially like throwback things, like nostalgic things. And like somebody actually tweeted a clip from Tisha Campbell's first single "Push," and like they tweeted the video, and like, the internet loves when they discover something that's been on the internet for literal years. So it's always funny to me when that happens. But I sometimes, and I think I've done this more, if I go search my name on Twitter and then also search whatever by En Vogue, like with it, I have clearly been on like a mission to make people realize how good En Vogue's whatever is, because I have tweets, like literal like 5 years of tweets where every year I'm like, oh, y'all love American Horror Story? Well, y'all should get into this, because like American Horror Story would never exist without En Vogue's whatever. So like it's just interesting that you never know what resonates with people, and I hope that whatever, one day it gets its due. It's got to get its due, Yeah,
look at Running Up That Hill by Kate Bush. If it just gets the right placement, maybe.
Exactly. We just need the right placement in somebody's Netflix show, or somebody's,
or the right influencer to retweet it.
So we'll see. But
we'll see.
Now on to this episode's submitted letter. We have a somewhat lengthy letter, but we're going to get through it, from Justice Jackson. Shout out to Justice.
Now, is Justice giving what our friend DT is doing? Is it
that
in depth?
We're going to find out. So I don't know. I don't think I can do two. There was a lot of energy in that last episode. Justice says, "Hey y'all, hey, it's Justice here, checking in again after listening to this week's episode. And ooh boy, I'ma try not to rant. Right, we love a little pun. I'ma try not to rant here or be too long, because I know y'all got other letters. But baby, I just gotta let y'all know off the rip, some takes had me appalled. I'm not even gonna lie to you."
No, Paul.
The energy in this letter is actually kind of giving me this. Is giving. As per usual, though, I thoroughly enjoyed. I love an as per usual, not just a per usual. It's an as per usual. As per usual, though, I thoroughly enjoyed the episode and hearing everyone's perspective and views, even if I don't totally agree with everything. But overall, it was an enjoyable experience. I'm going to just get right on to it. I, for the most part, agree with mostly everyone's view in regards to the sound of EV3. It was definitely a mixed bag and not consistent with the songs. And the songs didn't match the imagery they were going for in this era. I feel like Dawn's departure hurt the album, not just visually, but sonically, because Dawn was the one more on the mend of what was hot at the time, and I feel her input on the sound was very missed. I do wish they had hopped on the hip-hop soul wave, maybe gotten a Trackmasters joint or two, because if you listen to Dawn on the Firm Biz song and how she wrote the beat, I always picture the rest of the ladies behind her on it like a joint, like it would have been a great fit for them, in my opinion.
Agreed.
Dallas Austin is someone else I could also see being a good fit at the time. He's very eccentric and does pop and rock records. He could have given something in the vein of DLG. Fun fact, I just found out Dallas Austin produced and wrote Cool by Gwen Stefani, which I think is so dope. Very
I didn't know that.
Dallas Austin is kind of a genius.
Dallas Austin, let me tell you something. He produced one of my favorite songs ever in life, which is Sentimental by Deborah Cox.
Oh,
I didn't know that either.
Yes.
Let me tell you, that man does no wrong in my eyes. Like,
Dallas Austin's
ooh.
got a track record. Justice says, I wish they had tried to bag a Euro producer like Max Martin if they wanted to get a pop dance hit. That's true. I believe I've mentioned this before. I feel like they should have gotten a new fourth member out the gate. Someone like Tisha Campbell.
Hello.
Somebody like Tisha Campbell.
Did y'all know? Did y'all know he was going to bring up Tisha?
No.
I
See,
know.
it's the journey. I know.
It's the journey, Josh.
It's the journey. I know random, but if y'all watch Happily Ever After, when En Vogue were the Black Barbies and Tisha was the Tin Soldiers, she vocally fit right in Dawn's pocket, and it's crazy how similar they sound to each other. Tisha would have been a perfect fit vocally. I'll argue that down later. But in any case, that they maybe tried a new fourth member, the change wouldn't have been as drastic, and people would have still warmed to them. I feel
exactly
because they still would have been a quartet, and Evie is known as a quartet. Now that to your point, JP.
Exactly.
Now, Champ is not here to defend himself, but Justice is about to go in on Champ. So now, Mr. Champ, you have been my fave on here thus far because I feel like you match waves most of the time when I listen to the show with certain views and things. Plus, we're like in the same age range, so I was a bit appalled here, not gonna lie. I do respect your opinion, but baby, you were out of order for that Reading Rainbow remark. No, sir, let's not do my ladies like that. Plus, Reading Rainbow is a classic. How could you shade it? Very disappointed there. But c'est la vie. LOL.
Wait a minute. What Reading Rainbow remark? I don't remember.
I think we were talking about, and I hope, no, it wasn't Eyes of a Child, because I love Eyes of a Child. I don't care what y'all say, but I'm thinking it was Damn, I Want to Be a Lover, and he was like, not Damn, I Want to Be a Lover. Does anybody hear me?
Oh, yeah. I think that's what it was, too. Also, how come no love for Damn I Want to Be a Lover? Terry ate that joint down to the bone. Do you hear me? Dawn's harmony behind her was just chef's kiss. Terry did what needed to be done on that song. I don't care. No slander allowed. Number one out my personal top 3. I must add, I've Got Your Gun is a bop. It's one of Foster and McElroy's better produced songs for the album because the others, bar All I Need, were whack sauce. Sorry, not sorry.
Foster McElroy, he's talking about film stuff.
God. But they had to get some input on the album, so I understand why these songs made it. Again, great episode, you guys. I really enjoyed it. Keep up the good work, and I can't wait for the next one. Y'all be blessed. One love. I think it's simple.
Let me tell y'all, Justice Jackson, we need to follow you on social media because I'm here for your commentary. It was very enlightening and very entertaining.
Well, I want to say, because I always forget to say this, and it was on my mind for the EV3 episode. It was on my mind for the episode where we talked about Don versus Terry versus Sylvia, whatever that's going to be titled. But I always forget to say this, and it was so funny is that I've been thinking this for the longest, and I finally saw it in the YouTube comment on En Vogue Craze's Too Gone Too Long video that when they're performing on the Keenen Ivory Wayne show, and somebody made a comment about the clothing, which some people aren't fashionistas, so they don't get into like the haute couture or the pret-a-porter of it all. I love the outfits, but the person was like, why are all their outfits different? It looked like, they're wearing street clothes or whatever. You just didn't get it. But anyway, someone responded and was like, well, maybe, the budget, them having to record all those songs when Don left cut into the budget. And this is what we haven't talked about. They were almost done with the record, but they recorded 2 more songs after she left. Now, have they not had to spend all of that money re-recording songs? Because Babyface is not cheap.
What did they re-record?
Okay, they re-recorded the vocals for Whatever. They had to re-record the vocals for Too Gone Too Long. They had to re-record probably all the songs they did.
They went in and did a couple of leads, but Dawn is all up and through them backgrounds. They ain't record that much now.
Right, but what I'm saying is though, even still working. Okay, so then there's the money aspect and there's the time aspect. So Babyface is not cheap. So just think about billable hours or however, a producer, would bill. Just imagine him having to go back and first and record. So they're still paying for studio time, even if it is a couple of hours. Then him taking vocals off and all of that. So that's cutting into the budget.
But that wouldn't be something he would have to do, though.
That
would be the engineer.
Don told him to finish, because I feel like you're trying to act like there was no financial impact.
No, but I'm just saying, though, but I'm just saying, to re-record, Babyface is a producer, he produces the track, but the engineer is who does a lot of those things. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but Don said herself, and see, watch. See, I wish, because I know I could tell you to watch the Instagram live videos, but there's thousands, so you might not watch the one where I saw it on. But Don, and maybe she said it more than once, but she said her stuff I think when she was with her husband and they did something with Babyface, maybe it was, or maybe it's when she did Love Makes Things Happen with Coco and Kevon and all them that Babyface produced. But she said that he was taking your vocals off of whatever was a very hard thing to do. So he did take the vocals off, according to her.
Okay.
But I say all that to say, so there's the money aspect, because regardless of who, let's just say David Foster didn't take the vocals off, but somebody had to do that, and they have to go back in and re-record those songs, and then all of the songs that Andrea and Ivan Mateus did, and whoever else besides Foster and McElroy. So you have that financial aspect of having to do that. Then you have the time aspect, because remember, Cindy and Maxine are the parents of young children. So, not every studio is where Foster and McElroy's is. They could be recording in, somewhere not close to where they live, is what I'm trying to say. So that's a time issue. So all of that time, effort, money could have maybe gone into let's get a Max Martin track. Let's get a track from Dallas Austin, which we know Dallas Austin is not cheap, because Left Eye was talking about, he was trying to charge his baby mama about $4 million to produce it. If you remember that interview she did at the 1997 MTV Video Music Awards with Missy and Lil' Kim, when they were around, they were like, ooh, $4 million. But anyway, I said, so that's another impact that I don't think people consider. And so then later on, seeing how much those costs kind of cut into everything, and then not really panning out, I think that also could be some of the reason why the next time around, they were like, well, Foster McElroy is cheaper. We work with these people. It costs a lot, because working with producers, especially back in the late 90s, the producer became bigger than the artist in a lot of respects. They became artists themselves. Some producers did, not all of them. So, that's what bugs me, because it's if she had not left, or if she would have left, maybe after the project was finished, there wouldn't be we can only work with these people, So I just wanted to bring that up, because I think we haven't touched on the financial and time aspect of re-recording those songs. Well, maybe they could have been doing other songs, or additional budgets that went, elsewhere that they spent redoing the songs.
I mean,
because of Don.
I can respect that maybe costs were different and technology was different back in 97 than it is today. Especially when you listen to EP3 and you literally hear Don on some of the lead vocals on many of the songs.
Only on the F tracks and Don't Let Go that was already released.
I hear Don on Too Gone Too Long in the backgrounds.
Okay, yeah.
I hear Don on Whatever in the backgrounds as well.
Hey, but I mean, now I don't know how long it takes to go into a studio and record.
Right.
But they did have to do that, and so maybe it was just her part. I don't know. But actually, that so you have Terry would have to go in and do that. And then, like I said, the producer they were working with aren't, maybe it would have been great.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure it was harder then to go back and do it than it is now.
And then you have deadlines and time. So I'm just saying all of that impacted, huh?
I say, yeah, but she's still on so much of that album that it's
I don't know. That's not necessarily my point. My point is not that she is not, maybe we could just talk about this particular topic at a different time. But I think what I'm just trying to get at is that there was a substantial amount of energy that could have been used elsewhere. It could have been used to maybe find two better songs than Even Though I Love Eyes of a Child, and Does Anybody Hear Me? They could have, some of that budget could have gone to a Max Martin or to a Dallas Austin, but now you're getting close to deadline, and you have to go and redo about what they. We know that Dawn was on whatever her leads were on whatever they were taking off. We know that she had a lead on Too Gone Too Long, that was taken off. We know that she had leads on Damn I Want to Be a Lover.
Damn I Want to Be a Lover.
We know that she was on Right Direction. They had to redo that one. We know that she was on You're All I Need, so they had to do that one over. That's about 5 songs. That is, that's cutting into your.
So what you're saying is, it's Dawn's fault that EV3 is trash?
No, I think, anyway, I think, we're towards the end of our episode.
I want to agree, though, really quick, Matea, because I think that's important to note, because the more I think about it, the reason that there is such a Dawn presence is because normally under any other circumstances, they would have went back and redid everything. Like, there's no logical reason why Dawn, as a person who is no longer in the group, should be on the album. But the only reason that it's conceivable is that they were strained on resources and they were strained on time, because when your album was supposed to come out, it's like any other thing. It's got to drop when it's got to drop, and they had to make it happen. So I think that's a really valid argument.
But can we also agree, though, if this is a group you believe in, and if this is your priority artist, you're going to spend the coin, right? I
think after having been away for as long as a unit, they needed to push them out as soon as possible, especially after the success of Don't Let Go. The album had to come out. It had to come out. They had to ride the wave of it somehow. And I feel like if they had said, maybe not this quarter, maybe we're going to push it back another quarter, then the momentum would have been gone.
That's fair, but do you think a group that had the success of En Vogue, do you think they needed to ride the momentum of one song?
I mean, let's be honest. They had been in the game way longer than their contemporaries. Look at who they were up on the stage with at this Chicago show.
Right.
These people were the ones dominating the chart, so they had to ride whatever momentum they could get.
Fair point. Okay. I mean, I'm not going to disagree.
Okay, see, he's doing that public defender thing again. But I mean, you're.
I'm just saying though. But I mean, all I'm saying is listen. If my star player recorded most of the album, I just want to let her go personally. But that's a whole nother topic. That's a whole nother conversation. So another podcast for the day. I just would have found a way to make that work. And that's where I feel like Sylvia Rohn is just, she cut off her nose to spite her face. But we're talking about whatever.
Honestly, that's why we can never, ever talk about, well, you know what? That's to be continued. Maybe, I don't know how we can incorporate that into another episode, but I have things to say. But rather than that, we're going to just keep celebrating whatever. And interestingly enough, whatever is the rare track, but it's not the one that was sent to radio. It's the Whatever Tawate remix. And if you don't know Tawate, he is the DJ from D-Light. You remember D-Light? And my favorite, I just want to hear a good beat.
Another fashion-forward group.
Lady Miss Here, DJ Tawate, and the one, there's always that one of the group that, it's like, okay, leave his name in the comments if you know it, because I don't. But Tawate, I think he was kind of like the creative force behind Delight, and like I said, Good Beat. I just want to hear Good Beat, Groove is in the Heart. He's from Japan. He's a DJ from Japan, and he's a great remixer and producer. He was actually supposed to be maybe an actual producer, not a remixer, but Terry told by magazine, she said, we're considering Organized Noise, Delight, and R. Kelly. We're excited to get back to work. When she was talking about what will become EB3. So I'm wondering why he only got a remix. But he remixed it in 1997, and it's included on his long play, Stupid Fresh. Have y'all heard the remix? What do you think of the remix?
I mean, I'm a fan, so I know this will not be everybody's favorite remix because it is frantic in sound. It is like kind of all over the place, but I kind of live, and maybe this is a theme, especially this episode, but I love when En Vogue exists in visuals and sounds that don't feel predictable, and this is not a predictable song, or this is not a predictable remix, and so for that reason alone, I like it. For the Brits, it feels very garage, as they say. It feels very like trippy, trip hoppy. It's got like this kind of frantic-y beat, and I hope folks will listen to it, if only to just sort of hear En Vogue in a really different kind of sound. I think like it makes sense that they would never revisit this particular type of sound, but I do sort of appreciate it for what it was, and it's very him. So for that I'm into it. It's an interesting ride, especially if you got a little, if you're somebody who enjoys the green, it might be really helpful.
If you're someone who knows the chief, as Wendy would say.
But this song for me is just, I think it started off cute, but what I hate about a lot of remixes is it's cut and paste. So when the vocals are slightly off from the beat, I don't, it just takes me out of it. Like, I really enjoyed the days of dance remixes where Mariah Carey and like Toni Braxton, they would re-record, and so it felt more in sync. It felt more, aligned. So for me, it just kind of, it's not my thing personally. It started off kind of cute, but it just, when the cut and paste vocals from the original kind of came on, I was just kind of out of it personally. However, though, I do have to say though, when Terry said that, we're considering Organized Noise, Delight, and R. Kelly, I just have to ask you guys, what were your thoughts on En Vogue working with R. Kelly? And do you think they ever worked with R. Kelly? Is there a R. Kelly record that we haven't heard yet? Is there something unreleased? And would you guys be open to hearing that?
I cannot front. And I know, but it's just,
y'all go ahead and down that hill.
He's not, I respect Josh.
Y'all not gonna get me to talk about R. Kelly on this podcast.
Josh, I totally respect your stance. I get it. Like, your vantage point is going to be a little bit different from mine anyway, because I would say, I'm your elder. So respect what I'm about to say. But like, oh my God, like when I just think about Fortunate by Maxwell, and when I think about do you mind if I stroke you up? And that's not even like I don't think that would be peak En Vogue, but just to have that on a record, like,
which was Changing Faces, which kind of
like, it's
took
just
them
something
into
like
superstardom.
That. Like the song you did with Tony, I Don't Want To, like I could kind of, that's, I don't mind it, but it's not like, that's not one of the ones I want for them. But even Get Out that he did for Changing Faces, like, as an album cut for En Vogue, I think that's En Vogue.
Hold it. I did not even realize that R. Kelly wrote Fortunate. That is wild. He wrote and wow.
Like, just imagine if they got that song.
That is wild. I did not even know that. Like, that is like one of my favorite Maxwell songs.
Oh, it's
that's
just
crazy.
So I know 30 years and all of that, and I know, but I'm just saying, like,
Listen, I mean, I'm glad that man got the time that he's gotten. He's a bad man. Mm-hmm. But I just, if there is an En Vogue R. Kelly track somewhere in the stratosphere, I just want it to come out tomorrow so that I can hear it. That's all.
Even if they got one of the ones I didn't even really care for, like Yippee-Ki-Yay, when a, you know, like, I think it was a male group that did that song, but still, like, for En Vogue, that could have been just like, you know, like just like a something sent to radio, you know, like come on. But I will say, and I probably said this tribute before, he did open for them, and this was before Aaliyah, so I don't want to hear anything like that because you know. And I mean, I will say that like when I was little, I didn't know what was going on, but I knew that they got married because I remember I was going to Six Flags and Magic Mountain, and we were in the car, we were in my mom's car, so I was like a Nissan Maxima 92, and then they announced on the radio, you know, that Aaliyah and R. Kelly got married. So I knew, but that was like 94, 95 when he opened for En Vogue. That was the Funky Divas tour in 1992. So don't try to come at En Vogue, but keeping it real, that's a collab that I wouldn't be mad at all.
No,
but you know,
I understand where y'all coming from. That's what I'll say. I think it's always tricky, and it's an individual process for people who, like, you know, can reconcile the art versus the artist and that kind of thing. That's a whole different kind of podcast, a whole different type of whatever. But yeah, I mean, nobody can deny that R. Kelly was like R. Kelly was the R&B genius of the time. So like, it makes sense that would be a collaboration that would probably have happened. But it always makes me wonder, like, just collectively, what is in the vault that we just don't know about? You know what I mean?
Right.
So it's kind of sad.
Yeah, I wonder if they ever did work together and it just didn't come out, or if it just never happened. So yeah, I'm definitely curious about that, and it has nothing to do with R. Kelly. It's more so just about the fact that, I mean, I want to hear En Vogue working with more of the, you know, the hit makers of that time. And they were such a hot commodity that, I mean, I know people wanted to work with them.
And I think that would have helped, even, let's just say, like, they still only did a Masterpiece Theater, but had they been collaborating with others, I feel like after, you know, in the aftermath of it, more people could have reached out to them, like, you know, oh yeah, like, you know, come over to this label, you know, we love you, you know, yeah, we mess with you, we did this song together, you know. There could have been some kind of room to go somewhere, but when, you know, you're kind of like siphoned off and only, you know, like when they got dropped, it was like no one reached out. Like Puffy, like I said, worked with him before. Maybe people were like, yeah, I know, like you ain't been hot for a minute, but come over to Bad Boy. Well, I mean, that's the whole thing.
Well, thank God they didn't go to Bad Boy. Oh, God.
Right. Or, you know, have to work with Babyface more like, yeah, I know, you know, it wasn't, your last record was hot and you kind of, you know, dead in the water now. Because
he could have signed them to Gab Young Records.
Right.
You remember Gab Young?
I actually do remember that one. Who was on Gab? That was the one with Tracy.
Yes.
Edmond.
They did the Soul Food soundtrack.
Oh, right.
Even like, I would have loved to hear En Vogue like work with Dark Child in like a more significant kind of way. Like that's like,
and that whole process of picking records, and this is the last thing I'll say regarding this, but I remember Chili from TLC talking about No Scrubs, how she found the song. Like, I think, like, she was just like...
L.A. Reid found the song,
okay,
right?
Maybe L.A. Reid found the song, but what I'm trying to say is that basically, like, she was listening to submissions. Like, like I know you probably heard that they TLC rejected Where My Girls At. They rejected Baby One More Time, but this particular, I just remember her talking about her listening to submissions of songs, and I've never heard En Vogue speak in that regard. Like just early in the episode, we talked about how they went to the studio and Sylvia kind of told them, like, if you don't like it, you don't have to record it. But it's like, why are you all the way at the studio? Like, why couldn't, like, you listen? Now, I don't know if it was written just specifically for them. Maybe that's why they had to go to the studio. But it's like, in any instance, like, were people sending them tracks and them saying, yes or no, I like this one? I was like, okay, Babyface has of course they're not going to say no to Babyface. Like, that's an awkward situation to put somebody in. Like, you can get an advanced copy of the track, and like when you go in, like, if you like it, you're going to record it. And with the Andrea Martin situation, the way Ivan Matei told it, it was like, she got so many songs on the record because Sylvia wanted to sign her as an artist. So that's like Sylvia's business deal. So it wasn't about picking the best songs for En Vogue. So at no point do I think any of what they did on that record is deliberate. It just seems like they just got these songs that like it just seemed like it kind of came together erratically. And like when you, Josh, mentioned Madonna in the last piece where she had on all the black for the Frozen video. With her, everything is deliberate. It's conceptualized. She knows what she's doing. I don't feel like that's what was the case for EV3. And so, like even she, remember, had Take a Bow with Babyface, and that was supposed to be a big, that was a big hit. And they were going to work on what became Ray of Light, but she didn't like the direction it was going in. And so she ended up working with William Orbit. And of course, En Vogue is a different caliber of artist, and maybe, the label is a different caliber of label than Warner Brothers. So maybe they didn't have all the tools and resources available. I'm just saying it just seems like everything was just kind of rushed, and it wasn't like, conceptualize it, pick from all these songs. It was basically like, okay, Babyface has a song for you, do it. David Foster, Diane Warren, they have this song, do it. Don't even ask to check out other songs. They have this one, do this one. Andrea, I want to work with her. I want to sign her to Elektra. She gets 6 songs. And then, that's it. No rhyme or reason. Just get it done.
Well, thank God we got whatever out of the mix.
Yeah. Great way to wrap up the episode. Thank God for whatever.
I will give a shout out, though. Like, I do, of the remixes, I love the remix we talked about, but I really love the Tough Jam remixes of whatever, the Undivibe dub, which I think actually has Dawn's vocals on it, like Dawn on, I think, doing Terry's part, right? Have y'all heard those?
JP.
Is that the house remix? Yeah,
those are really good. So I think there's lots to play around with. If you've only ever listened to the original, whatever, you have a lot of fun stuff to listen to.
I think the remix that I heard was it says the Mucho Soul remix. Is that what you're talking
about? I think that I don't know. My guess here, and this is me being not so sure how it worked back then, is that they sent out the vocals with Dawn's prior to her leaving or somewhere along the line, and all the DJs, because it's more than just one mix that's got Dawn's vocals on it like that.
Oh, okay.
So
they need to put those on iTunes. I don't do Spotify, but
the one I listen to the most is the Tough Jam Undivibe dub, which is on. It's not on like a En Vogue record. It's on like a Rare Remixes. I'll send it to you.
And can we shout out Giuliano Franco one time, because like he did co-write and co-produce it, and of course, like when you're next to Babyface, who's huge, he's gonna be the one who gets all the attention. But whatever Mr. Franco's contribution was, you did your thing, because that's not a typical Babyface song. It's not a typical song, period, but definitely not a typical Babyface song. So you know.
Which makes me really wonder if the things we love the most about whatever, no shade to Babyface, actually didn't really come out of Babyface, because you're right. It's so different than everything that Babyface has done. And that's not to say Babyface couldn't push himself to do something different. I just really wonder what Giuliano Franco's contributions were.
I do too. Let's see.
I would just say listen to Baby I by Tenderoni. It reminds me of whatever. Have you heard that from the Soul Food soundtrack?
Yeah, it does not remind me of whatever. Baby,
that production, the production itself kind of reminds me of that in some ways. I don't know. Maybe it's just me.
I'll listen to it again. That was one of my least favorite.
Have you heard it, Josh?
No, I'll give it a go. We'll follow up in the next episode.
We'll reconvene.
Well, folks, that has taken us to the end of another episode. Be sure to stream Part of Us on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music, YouTube, and any other platform, mostly that you listen to your podcasts. For more En Vogue related content, you can find us on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram at En Vogue Craze, and on Twitter at Part of Us Fancast. If you have ideas, interview requests, comments, questions, exclusive rare footage, whatever it is, email it to us, send it to us at partofusevf@gmail.com. Next time we get together, we will have Chant back, I am sure, and we will see y'all next time.
Adios.
Bye.
This episode of Part of Us, an En Vogue Fancast, was researched and written by Matan and produced and edited by Matthew at Culture Inject Productions. The intro and outro music was produced by Wolves and Vincent Tone. We're more than just a podcast, we're a fan community. You can keep up to date on En Vogue and chat with other fans by visiting En Vogue Craze on Facebook. You can also follow us on YouTube and Instagram at En Vogue Craze and Twitter at Part of Us Fancast. Part of Us, an En Vogue Fancast, is not endorsed by En Vogue, E1 Music, or En Vogue Records, and is intended for entertainment and educational purposes only. En Vogue and its names, images, and audio clips are registered trademarks and/or copyrights of their respective copyright holders.
In his defense of En Vogue's whatever, what is this word?
Ethnomusicologist.
In defense of En Vogue's whatever, like I promise, like I have a college education, so I'm just like, what is this word?
That's not my words. That's what the gentleman called. You know, that's in his bio on the article.
I was like, what is this?
I know Mark loosely.
Oh, Champ, where are you? Where's Champ?
He was whisked away to Belize this week, but he'll be back with us soon.
We've all negotiated individual podcasts for ourselves. What if we're like En Vogue? What if that happens?
That would be
Then I'll be the first one out, and I'm gonna talk trash.
Oh my God.
We could have lasted. We could have had a $80 million Spotify deal if it weren't for Matan.
And I'm going to be like, you know what? I don't know what, everything is positive. Everything is beautiful. My life is great. I don't know any negativity. I don't know what you're talking about.
And I'm going to be over here like, I'm just trying to save the group. And Champ missing shows. Anyway. What y'all think about this letter?